Hi there, I'm Chris Good and welcome to Front-End Development 101. In this series, we're going to practically cover everything you need to know to get to grips with front-end development using the holy trinity of coding, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. First of all, in this video, we're going to cover what front-end development is and why you should learn it. And then as we progress through the series, we will have a look at those three coding languages and understand how to use them effectively, why it's important to use them properly, but then we'll actually get to building practical projects that you can get live out there in that interweb thing. So first of all, what is front-end development? Front-end development is, in terms of an app or website, it's everything that a user will actually see, experience, touch, and actually use. So you would be responsible for taking the design to the page and ensuring everything is pixel perfect and visually wonderful. You would be responsible for, in many cases, designing the actual user interface and therefore the user experience. And front-end development actually has a lot coming into it these days with regard to the actual interaction and functionality. So a lot falls to the front-end web developer, and where that you might be aware that there's a sort of a bit of a tension between front-end development and back-end development. A lot of pride comes into back-end development being beneath the surface like an iceberg, and this is where it really matters. And that's kind of true. It's where the functionality of an app or a website really takes place. But there's a huge amount that goes into front-end web development, because if people don't like what they see, if there is not a good user experience, if it doesn't interact well as they're trying to use it, and if the functionality isn't immediately there and accessible to all manner of different people and different devices, then the precious back-end production is not going to be used. I like to use the analogy really that from a musical background, and I'm saying this, a drummer or a bass player is really lost without a front person connecting with the audience. And really there we kind of do see not only the importance of both positions, back end and front end, but we also understand that the front-end web development, if you want to be empowered in your new career, can actually go it alone and achieve a tremendous amount without having to rely on other people. So front-end web development, it does have a bit of an iceberg about it. For every button that you see on an interface, for every color choice, for every little hover animation that helps somebody know that they are interacting with the page, there is a ton of psychology behind that. There is a ton of visual and also, yes, psychological design, cognitive design that creates this journey that actually makes something usable, interesting, pleasant, and actually successful. So front-end web development, in my view, it's obviously you can't have one without the other. Back-end and front-end is incredibly important. I think we need to acknowledge that there is a huge amount of work that goes into any interface that will be successful. So front-end development exists alongside back-end development. They're both as important as each other, and they are both icebergs. There's a pretty little bit at the top, and there's a whole load of a skill set that you need to learn beneath the surface. So what exactly makes up front-end development? As I mentioned, it's three codes: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We're going to go through these. You'll be competent and confident in these throughout the series, but we need to understand what they are. HTML is really about the structure of a web page or an app page. It's the skeleton. It's how we can say that there's a heading up here and a body down here. There's a box here and a button over there. That's about the structure of the actual page, or what you might call the layout. HTML is how we stitch all of that together. CSS is the styling language, so think of that as being the flesh on the top of the skeleton, and CSS is where you get to play with all of the pretty colors, but there is a real science to getting this correct so that you can make projects scalable and maintainable. That is where you really do set the amateurs aside from the professionals, and we're going to be covering the professional workflow in this series. And then you've got JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is where you will really extend your front-end development experience. Back in my day, front-end development really was about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And while that hasn't changed, there are now JavaScript frameworks such as React or Vue, and you will likely go into those after mastering these three core languages. But JavaScript historically has been known for function and for creating the interaction, opening a pop-up, bringing a drop-down menu down. Now, we can actually do a lot of this now in CSS, and it's best that we do, but it's important to note that, for one thing, a lot of functionality has come from JavaScript into CSS, which is great. The other thing to know is that JavaScript has really extended into a lot of frameworks. And that's why if you look at job pages for front-end development, you're going to see lots of scary frameworks and everything that you should know. These are generally extensions of the JavaScript part of that. As we progress through the series, I think you're going to find that a particular part appeals to you more. The fact is that when you go into front-end web development, you are then working with back-end aspects. You are also working with user psychology. You will then also interact with things such as, in the web field, SEO considerations or accessibility. And the fact is that from front-end web development, you could go anywhere from precise marketing and SEO, because you've learned some bits about that and you've been exposed to how to do that effectively, and that's the direction you want to go in. Or you may be interacting with back-end systems and find that inner nerd in you just loves to find the comma that broke the code, and you might progress into there. So in my own space, I have worked in both backend, and I've also progressed more into SEO and marketing. All of that came from learning front-end skills. So it's a real central place that will give you exposure to lots of different jobs and roles in the industry, and you can find what you like. The main thing to remember is that as a front-end developer, you can pretty much go it alone and do a lot of different jobs, different tasks, different projects, and bring in different bits of support as and when you need. So yeah, go out there, be a rock star, carry on with this series. Okay, so that's a little breakdown of what front-end development is, what the fundamentals are, and why you should learn it. I hope you're pretty sold on that, and join me in the next video, and we'll crack on with the series. Bye-bye.